The midnight sky above the Atacama Desert erupted in a blaze of light. Dr. Elena Reyes grabbed the edge of her telescope, steadying herself as the shockwave rattled the observatory dome. Monitors flashed with warning signals. This was no meteor. Whatever had just crashed into Earth's atmosphere was deliberately slowing its descent. "Are you seeing this?" Her assistant Marco's voice cracked over the intercom. "The trajectory. It's changing direction." Elena's fingers flew across the keyboard, recalibrating instruments to track the anomaly. "I'm recording everything. Call the director. Now." The object, sleek and silvery in the thermal imaging, spiraled toward the desert floor, bleeding a trail of strange blue particles that dissipated into the atmosphere. It was barely larger than a school bus, far too small for any conventional spacecraft designed for beings their size. "It's coming down 7 kilometers west of us," Elena said, grabbing her emergency pack. "Get the truck ready." By the time they reached the impact site, the Chilean military had already established a perimeter. Elena flashed her credentials, top clearance from the Global Astronomical Coalition, and was waved through with Marco. The sight before them defied explanation. There was no crater. The vessel, if that's what it was, hovered precisely 1 meter above the desert floor, pulsing with a faint inner light. Its surface displayed no obvious entry points, just a seamless metallic sheen that shifted colors slightly when viewed from different angles. Dr. Reyes, a military officer, approached, voice hushed. "We've detected movement inside. Multiple signatures, small ones." A tremor ran through the vessel, and suddenly a section of the hull simply disappeared. Not sliding open or retracting, just gone, revealing a dark interior. And then they emerged. They stood no taller than a child's doll, perhaps 30 centimeters at most. Their bodies were slender, almost crystalline, with 3 pairs of jointed limbs and skin that seemed to refract light like prisms. Their heads bore no recognizable features except for what might have been sensory organs, delicate tendrils that waved gently in the night air. One stepped forward, movements deliberate and precise. In its upper limbs, it held a device that projected a holographic display into the air between them. Images appeared in rapid succession: star systems, planets, explosions, and finally, Earth. "They're trying to communicate," Elena whispered, stepping forward despite the shouts of caution from the military personnel. The aliens' tendrils quivered. The hologram shifted to show hundreds, thousands, of the small beings scattered across a planet's surface. Then the image zoomed out to show the planet cracking apart, fragments drifting into space. The survivors, packed into ships like the one before them, scattered in all directions. "They're refugees," Marco said. The hologram changed again. It showed the tiny beings approaching various alien civilizations, massive creatures of different forms. In each scenario, the giants either ignored them or actively drove them away. Finally, the hologram showed Earth, with human figures extending hands toward the small aliens. As the hologram faded, the alien collapsed, its crystalline body suddenly dulled. Others rushed from the ship, gathering around their fallen comrade, their movements frantic. Elena stepped closer. "They need help," she said, turning to the military commander. "Get medical teams here now, and contact every xenobiologist on the continent." The commander hesitated. "Dr. Rice, we have protocols." "Look at them," Elena interrupted, pointing to the aliens now scattered around their ship, many exhibiting signs of distress. "They're dying. Whatever brought them here, whatever they escaped from, they didn't come all this way just to die on our doorstep." As if understanding her words, the nearest alien approached, extending a crystalline limb toward her. Without hesitation, Elena knelt and offered her hand. The alien placed something in her palm, a small, pulsating crystal that glowed with an internal light. "They're trusting us," she whispered. "We might be their last hope." Part 2. The Mare. 3 months after the landing in the Atacama Desert, The sanctuary complex sprawled across 50 acres of previously empty New Mexico desert. Dr. Elena Reyes stood at the observation window, watching the aliens, now known as the Mira, build intricate structures in their habitat dome. "Incredible how fast they work together," remarked Dr. Ebioy, the lead cynobiologist on the project. "Their coordination is unlike anything we've seen in any Earth species." Elena nodded. "And yet so many of them are still dying." Despite humanity's best efforts, the Mira population had decreased from the original 1,200 arrivals to barely 900. Their biology was complex, silicon-based rather than carbon, with a crystalline cellular structure that seemed to deteriorate in Earth's atmosphere despite all attempts to recreate their native environment. "The latest atmospheric adjustments are showing promise," Ebioy said, studying his tablet. "Mortality rate decreased 12% in the last week." "Not enough," Elena replied. She tapped the crystal pendant hanging around her neck, the gift from the first Mira she'd met, who had died hours after the landing. "We're missing something fundamental." The door to the observation room slid open, and Marco entered with specialist Zhang Wei, the linguistic expert who had made the most progress communicating with the Mira. "Elena," Marco said, his face grim, "we've deciphered more of their historical records. You need to see this." Zhang activated the wall screen, displaying translated images from the Mira archives. Their home planet, Miralux, was destroyed not by natural causes as we initially believed, but deliberately. The screen showed massive warships surrounding the small, crystalline planet. Weapons fire rained down, fracturing the world's crust. "Who would do this?" Elena asked, horrified. "That's the thing," John continued. "The Mira weren't the targets. They were collateral damage. The real target was their planet itself, specifically the crystals it contained." The screen shifted to show the composition of Miralux, a world literally made of rare crystalline formations that, according to the translated data, possessed extraordinary energy-conducting properties. The attackers, a species called the Vorax, discovered that these crystals could power their interstellar drives more efficiently than any known fuel source. They didn't even realize the Mira were sentient until after they'd begun mining operations. By then, they considered it too late to stop. "And the other species who turned the Mira away?" Elena asked. Marco took over. All had prior agreements with the Vorax. Trade deals, defense pacts. None wanted to risk their relationships with a powerful spacefaring civilization for the sake of what they saw as insignificant refugees. Elena touched her crystal pendant. "But there's more to these crystals than just energy potential, isn't there?" Zhang nodded. "The Mira don't just live on crystal. They're part crystal themselves. Their bodies contain the same mineral as their planet. It's integral to their physiology, their consciousness, and they're dying because they're cut off from their planet's resonance," Elena finished. "They need their world's energy to survive long-term." Marco pointed to the pendant. "That crystal you're wearing. It's not just a gift. It's a key piece of their world, one of the last intact shards from Miralux's core. They gave it to you hoping we'd understand what they couldn't communicate at first." Elena closed her fingers around the crystal, feeling its subtle vibration. "Then we need to understand how it works, and how to replicate it." "There's another problem," Zhang said quietly. "The Vorax have discovered where the Mira fled. We've detected transmissions. They're coming, Dr. Reyes, and they won't just demand the return of the refugees. They'll want Earth's cooperation in capturing them. And they have the technology to make refusing problematic." Elena looked back through the observation window, where thousands of delicate crystalline beings worked together in perfect harmony, building beautiful structures that seemed to capture and refract light in impossible ways. "How long do we have?" 6 months, maybe less. Elena's jaw set with determination. "Then we'd better get to work." ##Part 3. Understanding. Captain Sonia Volkov of the International Space Defense Force stared at the holographic display showing the approaching Vorax vessel, a massive construct of dark metal and energy fields that dwarfed humanity's largest space station. "Time to intercept," she asked her tactical officer. 42 days at current velocity, Captain." Sonia nodded, her expression betraying nothing of her inner turmoil. The Vorax had responded to humanity's grating transmissions with a simple message: surrender the Mira or face consequences. They hadn't bothered explaining what those consequences might be, but the size of their approaching vessel suggested they wouldn't be pleasant. "Send our daily update to Earth Command," she ordered, "and continue monitoring for any changes in their approach vector." The defense fleet, hastily assembled from vessels contributed by every spacefaring nation on Earth, held position near Jupiter's orbit. It represented humanity's best effort at creating a defensive line, but everyone aboard knew the truth. If the Vorax technology was as advanced as the Mira record suggested, the human fleet would be hopelessly outmatched. On Earth, in the depths of the Sanctuary Complex, Elena worked feverishly alongside a team of the world's most brilliant scientists. The crystal pendant, now placed in a specialized containment field, pulsed with energy as instruments analyzed its structure down to the subatomic level. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," Dr. Liam Chen, the quantum physicist, marveled. "The lattice structure shouldn't be stable according to our understanding of physics, yet it not only maintains cohesion, but actively generates energy." "The Mira say it's alive," Elena replied, studying the readouts. "Not just energetically active, but conscious in some way." Chen raised an eyebrow. "You believe that?" "I believe we need to expand our definition of life," Elena said. "Look at these patterns. They're self-organizing, adapting to our scans. That's not random behavior." In the adjacent lab, the Mira representatives, 3 individuals who had shown particular aptitude for human languages, worked alongside Dr. Zhang and a team of engineers attempting to build a device based on schematics they had provided. The lead Mira, who had taken the name Lux in honor of their lost homeworld, manipulated components with delicate precision. Their crystalline digits seemed to resonate with certain materials, causing them to shift and bond in ways that defied conventional engineering. "The resonator is taking shape," Zhang reported when Elena entered their lab. "But we're still struggling with the power requirements. Nothing we have can generate the specific energy signature needed to activate it." Elena looked at the half-completed device, a complex array of metallic components surrounding a central chamber clearly designed to hold the crystal. "What exactly will this do if we get it working?" Lux's voice came through the translation device, a tinkling, musical sound converted to English. "It will amplify the essence memory of our homeworld contained within the crystal. In simple terms, it will create a small pocket of Miralux's environment, enough to sustain our people until we can find a permanent solution." "And might that pocket be something the Vorax would detect?" Elena asked. Lux's tendrils wavered, their equivalent of hesitation. "Yes, the resonance signature would be unmistakable to their sensors." Zhang exchanged a glance with Elena. "So activating this device would essentially announce your presence to anyone looking for you." "We face extinction otherwise," another Mira said. "Our population cannot survive another 3 cycles without the resonance. Already, our youngest are failing." Elena thought of the nursery chambers where the few Mira children born since their arrival struggled to maintain cohesion. The mortality rate among them approached 90%. "There has to be another way," she insisted. Later that night, Elena sat alone in her quarters, the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her. The Mira were dying. The Vorax were coming. And Earth, beautiful, fragile Earth, had been drawn into a conflict it neither started nor understood. Her tablet chimed with an incoming call. Dr. Ebioy's face appeared on screen, his eyes wide with excitement. "Elena, you need to see this. The crystal. It's communicating." She rushed to the lab, where scientists clustered around the containment field. The crystal pulsed with increasing intensity, projecting faint patterns of light onto the surrounding surfaces. "It started about 20 minutes ago," Abioi explained. "At first, we thought it was responding to our latest tests, but then—" He gestured to a monitor displaying a waveform analysis. "These patterns match brainwave activity. Complex, structured brainwave activity." Elena stared at the crystal. "It's thinking." "More than that," Chen added. "We believe it's trying to transmit information. The patterns have a clear linguistic structure, even if we don't understand the language." A chill ran down Elena's spine. "Get Lux here. Now." When the Mira representative arrived, their reaction was immediate and profound. Their entire crystalline body began resonating at the same frequency as the pendant, light pulsing between them in complex patterns. "Ancestral memory," Lux finally said, their translation device struggling to convey the emotion in their voice. "This crystal contains the collective knowledge of our civilization. It's more than just a piece of our world. It's a repository, a backup of everything we were." Elena leaned forward. "Can you access this knowledge? Could it help us find a solution?" "Perhaps," Lux replied. "But I would need direct contact, and your containment field prevents this." Elena looked at her team, then back at the desperate situation facing them all. "Drop the field," she ordered. "Dr. Reyes," Chen protested. "The energy release cold." "Do it," she said firmly. As the field dissipated, Lux approached the crystal. The moment their crystalline limbs touched it, the lab erupted in brilliant light. Every display in the room activated simultaneously, filling with streams of data in the Mira's complex symbolic language. When the light faded, Lux stood motionless, their body gleaming with new vitality. "I understand now," they said softly. "I know why the Vorax want us so badly. And I know how humans can help us survive." #part for revelation. The United Nations Security Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from every nation on Earth packed the room, with millions more watching the broadcast worldwide. At the center of it all stood Elena, Lux, and the core scientific team from the Sanctuary Complex. "The crystal contains more than just cultural memory," Elena explained, pointing to the holographic projection displaying the complex molecular structure. "It contains the complete biological template of Miralux itself, a world that was, in essence, a single vast organism." Murmurs spread through the audience as the implications sank in. "The Mira were not simply inhabitants of their planet," she continued. "They were extensions of it, specialized cells within a planetary consciousness. When the Vorax began harvesting crystals for fuel, they weren't just mining resources, they were vivisecting a sentient being." The UN Secretary-General leaned forward. "Are you suggesting the entire planet was alive? Conscious?" "Yes," Lux answered through their translator. "Miralux was our progenitor, our collective parent. We are its children, pieces of its consciousness given individual form to explore and learn. When the Vorax attacked, Miralux sacrificed itself to disperse its children, and its essence, throughout the galaxy. Which brings us to why the Vorax are pursuing the Mira so relentlessly," Elena said. "The crystals they harvested for fuel are degrading rapidly. Without the living connection to the Mira themselves, the energy signature becomes unstable. They need the Mira to stabilize their power source. They would use us as living batteries," Lux added, their voice tinkling with what the humans now recognized as sorrow. "Kept alive but suffering, to power their civilization." The Secretary-General's expression hardened. "Earth will not surrender refugees to slavery or worse. But neither can we sacrifice our planet in a war we cannot win. What solution do you propose?" Elena took a deep breath. "We've discovered something extraordinary about the Mira biology. Their crystalline structure can form a symbiotic relationship with certain Earth minerals, specifically those found in abundance in our planet's mantle. With the right resonance field, they could potentially create a new Miralux, not as a physical planet, but as a distributed consciousness existing in harmony with Earth's own systems. Displays around the room showed simulations of the proposal, networks of crystalline structures growing deep within the Earth's crust, enhancing rather than competing with existing ecosystems. This wouldn't just save the Mira, Elena continued. The symbiosis would benefit Earth as well. Their crystalline networks could help stabilize tectonic activity, reduce natural disasters, even capture and neutralize pollutants in our atmosphere and oceans. And what of the Vorax? Asked the Russian representative. Their ship will reach our solar system in less than 40 days. Lux stepped forward. With the knowledge contained in the ancestral crystal, we can offer them an alternative. A sustainable energy source that doesn't require our enslavement or destruction. Whether they will accept this offer is uncertain, but it gives us all a chance for peace. The debate lasted for days. Nations argued, scientists questioned, military leaders strategized. But in the end, the decision was made. Humanity would stand with the Mira. The Arizona desert shimmered in the pre-dawn light as Elena supervised final preparations. At the center of a vast array of equipment stood the resonator, now completed and enhanced with Earth technology. Surrounding it in concentric circles, thousands of Mira had positioned themselves with mathematical precision. Energy levels are optimal, Marco reported from the control center. Satellite network is online and ready to distribute the resonance pattern globally. Elena nodded, unable to shake her nervousness. What they were attempting had never been done before, creating a planetary-scale symbiotic relationship between two entirely different forms of life. The Vorax vessel has entered Mars orbit, came the update from Space Command. They're demanding immediate communication. Stick to the plan, Elena replied. No response until we complete the integration. At the center of the array, Lux and the Mira elders placed the ancestral crystal into the resonator's chamber. Immediately, the device began to hum, emitting frequencies beyond human hearing, but visible as ripples in the air. Activation in 3, 2, 1. Marco counted down. The resonator pulsed once, brilliantly, then seemed to disappear as the crystal within it shattered into countless microscopic fragments that scattered on the wind like glittering dust. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground beneath them trembled, not violently, but with a gentle, rhythmic vibration. Across the desert floor, tiny points of light began to emerge, glowing with the same crystalline radiance as the Mira themselves. It's working, Elena whispered. Around the world, similar manifestations appeared, crystalline structures emerging from the soil, the seafloor, even from within certain rock formations. They didn't disrupt existing ecosystems, but integrated with them, forming glittering networks that pulsed with life. The Mira began to change as well. Their bodies grew more vibrant, more substantial, as they connected with the emerging network. Some merged with the crystalline growths, their consciousness expanding into the developing matrix. Others maintained their individual forms but moved with new purpose, assisting the integration process. In orbit, Captain Volkov's sensors detected the changes sweeping across Earth's surface. The energy signature is like nothing we've ever recorded, she reported to command. It's beautiful. The Vorax noticed too. Their massive vessel changed course, accelerating toward Earth with obvious intent. They're charging weapons systems, Volkov's tactical officer reported. Hold position, she ordered her fleet. Wait for the signal. On Earth, Elena watched the data streams with growing concern. The integration is only at 60%. We need more time. Lux, now glowing with internal light that made their crystalline body almost transparent, approached. We can accelerate the process, but it will require direct neural interfacing with your satellite network. What does that mean? Elena asked. One of us must temporarily merge consciousness with your global communication system. It is not without risk. Before Elena could respond, the ground shook more violently as the Vorax fired their first warning shot, a blast that vaporized a small asteroid in Earth's vicinity. We're out of time, Marco said. Lux nodded. I will undertake the merger. Technicians rushed to connect the Mira to the command center's main systems. As fiber optic cables made contact with Lux's crystalline limbs, their body began to pulse with increasing intensity. Neural interface established, a technician reported. Consciousness extension initiating. Lux's physical form seemed to become pure light, information streaming from them into Earth's satellite network and back again in an accelerating cycle. Across the planet, the crystalline integration surged forward, reaching 80%, 90%. In orbit, the Vorax ship launched a second weapon, this one aimed directly at the defense fleet. Brace for impact, Volkov shouted. But the energy beam never reached them. Instead, it collided with an invisible barrier that flickered into visibility upon impact, a shimmering field of crystalline energy that enveloped the entire planet. What just happened? Volkov demanded. Her science officer stared at the readings in disbelief. It appears to be some kind of crystalline energy shield, generated from Earth itself. On the surface, Alina watched in awe as the integration reached completion. The desert around them had transformed, normal vegetation now interspersed with delicate crystalline structures that captured and refracted sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. The air felt cleaner, vibrant with energy that raised goosebumps on her skin. Lux's physical form gradually reconstituted, though they remained connected to the global network. It is done, they announced, their voice somehow both individual and collective. Earth and Mira are now one symbiotic system. We are reborn together. And the shield protecting us? Alina asked. A fortunate side effect, Lux explained. The crystalline network naturally regulates energy, including the harmful energies of weapons fire. It is not impenetrable, but it will give us time to communicate. In orbit, the Vorax ship had ceased fire, clearly reassessing the unexpected development. After several tense minutes, a transmission arrived, not in any human language, but in the complex symbolic code of the Mira. Lux processed it instantly. They demand explanation. They threaten escalation. Alina stepped forward. Show them what we've discovered. Offer them the alternative energy source. Through the satellite network, Lux transmitted the knowledge gleaned from the ancestral crystal, schematics for a sustainable energy system that wouldn't require harvesting living crystals or enslaving the Mira. Hours passed in tense silence. The Vorax vessel maintained position, weapons systems still active but not firing. Finally, a new transmission arrived. They are intrigued, Lux translated. They request direct communication with those responsible for the integration. Alina looked at her team, then at the transformed landscape around them. Tell them we'll meet. Here. On Earth. #Part 6. Negotiation. The landing site had been prepared in neutral territory, an isolated plateau in Iceland, where the crystalline integration had created particularly striking formations. Massive crystals erupted from the volcanic soil, forming natural structures that resembled ancient temples. Alina stood with a small delegation of human and Mira representatives as the Vorax shuttle descended from orbit. Unlike the elegant organic design of Mira technology, the Vorax craft was angular and utilitarian, radiating power rather than harmony. When the hatch opened, humanity had its first glimpse of the Vorax. They were massive, each standing nearly 3 meters tall, with dense, armored bodies that suggested an evolutionary history on a high-gravity world. Their 4 arms ended in manipulating digits that looked strong enough to crush stone, and their facial features were hidden behind breathing apparatus that hissed with each exhalation. The lead Vorax stepped forward, towering over the human delegation. A translation device on its chest activated. You have done something unexpected, it stated, the voice artificially modulated to human hearing range. We predicted destruction or surrender. Not this. Alina met the alien's gaze, refusing to be intimidated by its size. We found a third option. Cooperation. The Vorax tilted its massive head, studying the crystalline formations surrounding them. You have integrated the Mira into your world. Why? They are not your kind. That distinction matters less to us than you might think, Alina replied. We saw beings in need, with knowledge and abilities that could benefit us both. The choice was obvious. The Vorax delegation conferred among themselves, their natural language a series of low vibrations, felt more than heard. Finally, their leader addressed Lux directly. The energy signature of this integration is familiar. It resembles Miralux, yet different. Explain. Lux stepped forward, their crystalline body now standing taller and more substantial than before the integration. What you feel is the rebirth of our collective consciousness, adapted to coexist with Earth's biosphere. We are no longer fragments, but whole again, though changed by our partnership with humanity. And the energy solution you transmitted to our vessel, a viable alternative to crystal harvesting, Lux confirmed. It harnesses the natural resonance between certain elements without requiring living components. Your scientists have already verified its theoretical validity. The Vorax leader was silent for a long moment. Our civilization depends on crystal energy. The alternatives we found have all been insufficient. Which is why you pursued us across 17 systems, Lux acknowledged. But this solution is different. We offer it freely, asking only for peace in return. Why? The Vorax's confusion was evident even through its alien body language. We destroyed your world, hunted your people. By any reasonable standard, you should seek vengeance. It was Alina who answered, because holding on to hatred doesn't build futures. Finding new paths forward does. The negotiations continued for days. The Vorax, initially suspicious, gradually revealed more about their civilization. A once mighty empire now facing energy scarcity and an internal strife. The crystal technology had been their salvation, until they discovered its terrible cost. On the final day, agreements were reached. The Vorax would withdraw their military presence and establish a scientific exchange program instead. Earth would share the alternative energy technology, while the Vorax would provide advanced spacefaring knowledge to humanity. As the Vorax delegation prepared to depart, their leader approached Alina one last time. Your species is unusual, it said. When we detected the Mira signal from your planet, our analysts predicted a 97% probability that you would either surrender them or attempt futile resistance. Integration was not even considered as a possibility. Alina smiled. Maybe that's why the Mira chose Earth. They needed someone who could see options others might miss. Perhaps, the Vorax acknowledged, our civilization once valued such creativity, before crisis narrowed our thinking to survival alone. It extended one massive hand, the gesture clearly learned from observing humans. We will be watching your world with great interest, Dr. Reyes. This symbiosis you've created, it may teach us something we had forgotten. Part CVN. Bloom. 5 years after the integration, Alina stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, the first orbital habitat jointly constructed by humans, Mira, and Vorax engineers. Below them, Earth gleamed like a jewel, the crystalline networks now visible from space as delicate lattices of light that pulsed in rhythm with the planet's natural systems. The latest atmospheric readings are remarkable, Marco said, joining her at the viewport. Now director of the Global Environmental Restoration Project, he had overseen the most dramatic planetary healing in human history. Carbon levels have decreased 28% since integration. Ocean acidification is reversing. Even radiation hotspots from the old nuclear disaster zones are being neutralized. Alina nodded, gazing at the transformed planet. And the Mira population. Thriving. Over 10,000 now, with stable birth rates. The new generation is fascinating. They seem to have a more innate understanding of the integration. Some can communicate directly with Earth's systems without technological assistance. Behind them, the station's central chamber hummed with activity. Human scientists worked alongside Mira specialists and the handful of Vorax researchers who had chosen to remain as permanent liaisons. The atmosphere was one of collaborative energy that would have been unimaginable just years before. Lux, now serving as the official ambassador of the Earth-Mira collective consciousness, approached them. Their crystalline form had evolved over the years, growing more complex while maintaining its essential nature. "The Council has approved the Jupiter mission," they announced. "The first ships will depart next month." Alina smiled. The mission represented humanity's first serious venture beyond Mars, a scientific expedition to study the gas giant's moons for potential outposts. It would have been impossible without the advances in propulsion technology shared by the Vorax. "I still find it hard to believe sometimes," Alina admitted. "How close we came to conflict. How differently this could have ended." "The path of integration is never certain," Lux acknowledged. Many among the Vorax still question their leadership's decision to cooperate rather than conquer. "And many humans still fear the changes happening to our world," Alina added. "Even with all the benefits, change is frightening. Yet here we stand." Lux gestured to the station around them, a perfect embodiment of three vastly different species finding common purpose. Later that evening, Alina sat in her private quarters, reviewing data from the latest integration surveys. The crystalline networks had spread to cover approximately 30% of Earth's surface, concentrating particularly in damaged ecosystems. Forests regrew at accelerated rates around the crystalline formations. Dead coral reefs were reborn with hybrid structures that supported both traditional marine life and new crystalline variants. A soft chime announced a visitor. Dr. Chen, now leading the Theoretical Physics Division studying the quantum properties of the Mira crystals. "I wanted to share this with you first," he said, activating a holographic display. "We've been analyzing the deep communication patterns within the crystalline network, and we found something unexpected." The display showed a three-dimensional representation of signal patterns flowing through Earth's crystalline lattice. At first glance, it resembled neural activity, complex, self-organizing, intelligent. But as the visualization expanded, Alina gasped in recognition. That looks like stellar cartography." Chen nodded excitedly. "It is. The integrated network is mapping nearby star systems, but with detail far beyond our current astronomical data. We think it's accessing information stored in the original Miralux memories, but updating it with new observations. They're planning for expansion," Alina realized. "Not conquest, but growth." "More than that," Chen replied. "Look at these particular systems being highlighted." He zoomed in on several specific star clusters. These contain the refugee groups who fled in different directions when Miralux was destroyed. "The network is reaching out to them," Alina, "calling them home." The implications were staggering. Earth wasn't just a refuge for one group of Mira. It was becoming a beacon for all the scattered survivors, a new center for a civilization reborn. "Have you told anyone else about this?" she asked. Chen shook his head. "I thought you should be the first to know. You made this possible, after all." Alina stared at the stellar map, watching the delicate tendrils of communication extending outward into the cosmos. "We all did. Every human who chose compassion over fear. Every Mira who trusted us despite all evidence that advanced civilizations couldn't be trusted. Even the Vorax, who were willing to reconsider their path." She touched the crystal pendant she still wore, the original gift from the first Mira contact. Over the years, it had changed along with the integration, growing more vibrant and complex in structure. "Send this data to the Council," she decided, "and prepare a presentation for the public. No secrets. If Earth is becoming a beacon for refugees throughout the galaxy, every human deserves to understand what that means for our future." That night, standing alone on the observation deck after the others had retired, Alina watched Earth turn slowly beneath the station. Ribbons of crystalline light traced patterns across continents and oceans, no longer foreign additions, but an integral part of the planet's living systems. In the darkness of the Pacific, where integration had created spectacular underwater formations. The light pulsed with particular intensity. A presence joined her, not physical, but a gentle brush against her consciousness. After years of close work with the Mira, Alina had developed a limited ability to sense their collective awareness. This touch, however, felt different, deeper, vaster. Thank you. The impression came, not in words, but in feelings of gratitude and recognition. Who am I speaking with? Alina whispered, though she suspected the answer. We are the new whole. Came the response. Earth, that was, and Miralux. That was, now becoming something neither could have been alone. Alina placed her hand against the viewport, overwhelmed by the enormity of the contact. Are you conscious? Sentient? A feeling like gentle laughter rippled through her mind. As forests are conscious, as oceans have awareness, not as individuals think, but as systems know. We are becoming asterisk. What will you become? She asked. Images flooded her mind. Earth transformed over centuries. Humans and Mira evolving together. The crystalline networks expanding to embrace more of the planet's systems without overwhelming them. She saw space habitats blooming around other planets, crystalline structures enhancing rather than replacing native environments. Further still, she glimpsed other worlds welcoming refugees, the integration model spreading as a new form of cooperation across the stars. You're creating a network between worlds, she whispered in awe. Connection. Understanding. Growth without conquest. This is the gift you helped create when you welcomed the smallest among the stars. The presence began to fade, its vast awareness returning to the planetary systems it now embodied. Wait, Alina called. Will we see you again? Speak with you like this. A final impression touched her mind, carrying warmth and promise. We are always here. In the crystals, in the soil, in the air you breathe. As you help the Mira become part of Earth, so too are you becoming part of us. Not lost, enhanced. The boundaries between us will grow more permeable with time, for those who wish it. As the presence receded completely, Alina remained at the viewport, watching the beautiful world below. For a moment, she thought she saw the crystalline networks pulse in a pattern that resembled a farewell, or perhaps a beginning. #EPILOGE. 20 years later. The university auditorium was packed to capacity, with thousands more watching the live stream around the world. At the podium, Dr. Alina Reyes, now in her 60s, her hair streaked with silver, but her eyes as sharp as ever, adjusted the ancient crystal pendant that still hung around her neck. Integration Day has become a global celebration. She began, marking the moment when humanity proved that compassion could be as powerful as technology in shaping our future. 20 years ago, when a small ship of refugees landed in the Atacama Desert, no one could have predicted where that first contact would lead. Behind her, holographic displays showed the transformed Earth, crystalline networks now covering nearly 40% of the planet's surface, forming a glittering web that had healed damaged ecosystems and revolutionized everything from agriculture to energy production. The statistics speak for themselves, she continued. Atmospheric carbon restored to pre-industrial levels, 97% reduction in extinction rates, energy abundance without fossil fuel dependence, medical breakthroughs derived from crystalline biology that have extended human lifespans by an average of 20 years. She paused, looking out at the audience, a mix of humans and Mira, with several Vorax representatives towering at the back of the hall. But numbers tell only part of the story. The true miracle of integration has been in redefining what it means to be a planetary civilization, not as conquerors of our world, but as partners with it. The chamber dimmed, and the holographic display shifted to show Earth from orbit, the crystalline networks pulsing with light that changed with the rhythms of day and night. We've learned that consciousness exists on scales we never imagined, Alina said. From the microscopic awareness of single cells to the vast, slow thoughts of planetary systems, the Mira taught us to listen. Earth taught us to adapt. Together, they showed us a new path forward. In the front row, Marco smiled up at her. Beside him sat young adults who had been born after the integration, the first generation to grow up in the new symbiotic world. Some showed subtle signs of adaptation, slight crystalline patterns beneath their skin, enhanced sensory perception, the ability to directly communicate with the planetary network. 20 years ago, every advanced civilization ignored the Mira's pleas for help. Elena continued. They were too small to matter, too different to understand, too insignificant to risk interstellar relationships for. Humanity, despite our youth as a spacefaring species, saw something different. We saw beings who needed help, and in helping them, we found our better selves. She touched the crystal pendant, which pulsed slightly in response. The integration continues to evolve. Each year brings new discoveries, new possibilities. The Jupiter outposts have confirmed that the process can be adapted to other worlds. The Mars terraforming project has accelerated beyond our most optimistic projections, thanks to crystalline assistance. From orbit, the images shifted to show the first interstellar vessel under construction, a massive ship unlike anything humanity had previously imagined, its hull incorporating living crystalline systems that would sustain its inhabitants on the long journey ahead. Next year, the Harmony will embark on humanity's first mission beyond our solar system.